welcome to tonight's Missoula County Democrats meeting. I'm Dave Kendall, the chair of the party, and we have a great program here. To introduce our speaker, Roberta Crane, our vice chair, will be introducing our speaker tonight. Thank you.
And we are very fortunate to have LaShawn Jarge come speak to us tonight. I'm very excited about his presentation. He is a senior at the University of Montana, about to graduate with his master's in community health.
Bachelor's.
Bachelor's in community health.
Master's soon.
Soon to be a master's in community health. He works for SARC, the Student Advocacy Resource Center, and he's president of the Black Student Union. And today he's going to speak to us on the experience of being in color in Missoula.
Yeah.
Thank you, LaShawn.
No, thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for allowing me. Roberta, again, thank you for inviting me. Fellow Dems, thank you for having me speak about this topic. Can everybody hear me? Excellent. I'm going to speak in a tone where everybody can hear me, so I hope that's okay. All right? So,
we love it loud enough we can hear.
okay. Okay.
That's great. Good.
Why should Missoula care about race? Right? Why should Montana care about race? That's why we're here. That's the question that I was phrasing myself and trying to develop this presentation. So that's the perspective, right? So why should we care? Does anybody tell me, does anybody have an idea of where this is?
That's the Woolworths counter, is it?
Yeah. No, it's
This is a general store that was in Missoula circa 1943. It's where the Iron Horse is, or was. Now, I bring you focus to this information, and I thank Dr. Tobin Shear for allowing me to use this. He teaches African American history, 1865 to the present, and he showed this to us in an earlier class, and I asked him for this resource. It is very pertinent to what we're talking about here tonight. So the reason why I chose this photograph, obviously because it's Montana, right? But it's Missoula. And 1943, what was going on during that time? World War II. We had Japanese Americans in internment camps right up Highway 12, did we not?
Right.
Yes, we did. It's an unfortunate part of our legacy as well. But there's a small, I want you to focus on this area right here. You can't read it out, but it says no colored trade. So at the same time, while interning other Americans, we're also directly saying there's another part of America that we won't allow even to come into the store as well, right? So this is why this is important to us. I know on the grand scheme of things, why should we care? So we have a 70,000 population, as reported by data from the city, right? We have a 70,000 population in Missoula, 88.9% white, 3.5% Hispanic. You can see the breakup, right? So within that perspective, especially now with a lot of the political rhetoric that's being spewed about, right? Missoula identifies as 90% white. I.e., I heard this on a report in Missoula when the uptick of Islamophobia was going around. It's the last remnants of white countryside, i.e., we've been told that Missoula is the idyllic community, the last idyllic community, right? Great place to raise your kids. Great small town atmosphere that's growing. Great outdoor life. Great people. University. Economic infrastructure getting better, right? Missoula is a town that is somewhat portrayed as the ideal America. Maybe that has something to do with it being 90% white, I don't know. But, and a little bit liberal as well, the blue dot in the Red Sea, right?
Blue dot in the Red Sea.
So it's been seen as idyllic, right? And it is, for the most part. I've lived here for a few years, and Missoula's great. It's actually, out of all of my experiences in Montana, as far as race is concerned, I can tell you, and I've had the most favorable ones in Missoula. Okay? It's a great place. Good people. Coming from California, it's kind of weird meeting people who are that genuine and nice, and they see you on the street, they say hello, and they actually mean it when they say hello. It's a different thing, right? So it's actually a really nice place to live, but we are not immune to what's going on in America. We are not, right? So we're going to go over racism as our legacy. We're going to go over a couple of microaggressions, and we're going to go over current events and what's currently happening right now, because we don't dwell in the past, although we look back to the past because it helps us and informs us of how we should move forward. We're focused on current events, right? So this is our legacy. We know this. This is part of our history. It's American history, right? An unfortunate blemish on the wound, the scar that has yet to heal in America, right? We know this. This is our legacy. Now, I bring up Reconstruction because finally, there's certain enlightenment periods that has happened, right? Unfortunately, it took a war for us to become enlightened. Okay, so there's a certain enlightenment period. So we started to right the wrongs. There's a reason why I'm focusing on the Reconstruction area, because prior to this era, who were the party for African Americans? Republicans, right? Free the slaves, emancipation, right? This is when things started to change, right? And I'll show you how. So, this is a poster from the same era. I point this out because in the back you say the Republican Party is dead, right? After the war, during Reconstruction, there were a lot of newly found citizens, i.e., well, not citizens yet, but newly found Americans who they were perceived as another voting bloc, right? And so the Republicans, the Democrats actually, the Northern Democrats saw this as an opportunity to go into the South and, get some voters, get some motivation, say, hey, things have been different now. You've been with the Republicans for how long and things aren't better? How about you switch sides, right? This is what we use. And also in his hand, he's reading, it says, you can't see it, it's kind of blurry, but it says the Democratic ticket. Literally thinking about switching sides, right? So, this is our legacy. At the same time, another tactic that the Northern Democrats would use would say, the Republicans have been in control, there's no anti-lynching legislation. Isn't that important to you? As an American, as a black American, do you not want this to stop? Come over to the Democrat side. We'll give you some of that anti-lynching legislation. Right? Because we've seen these images all too often. And I'm sorry, I should have said a trigger warning before. I apologize for that. I know some of these images might be hard to see. Maybe some of us have seen them but haven't seen them in a long time, but I apologize. If you're feeling uncomfortable, please take care of yourself, okay? But this is our legacy. This is what we've done to each other. Right? So, here's the problem. In this country, if you're in an oppressed group, you're a little bit suspicious. Tell you why. Jim Crow. Legislated segregation. That's why you're suspicious. Because regardless of all the words, of all the language we can spew at each other, in our history we do have legislated segregation. Okay? He doesn't even know the sign, he doesn't even comprehend the sign he has. But this is what we've done. This is why we're dealing with racism today. This is not an individual who's 75 years old. This is an individual who is 12. Now, this person is 65. I guarantee you there's probably grandkids and great-grandkids. Racism is not something that you just become. It is learned. It is conditioned. Okay? This is something that happens. This is something that we continue to let permeate all of our interactions with each other. We're in America. This is an issue that is very pervasive in every aspect. We're Missoula Democrats. Do you not think politics is not replete with racial rhetoric? It is, right? Civil rights era. This is our history of what we've done to each other. Now, it's funny because I put the civil rights era as 1954 because that's actually when we had the first civil rights amendment drafted by the Democrats in Congress trying to get those black people to vote Democrat. Didn't have any teeth. No anti-lynching legislation. It was weak. I bring that up because I'll tie that in at the end, but there's a level of suspicion. For some reason, as African Americans, we've been conditioned to always vote in a certain way, and that's democratic. We have. Even before I could vote, I knew that, hey, I know which party is the one that has my issues, my concerns at heart, right? So, where are we? Have we progressed? Post-civil rights, right? Post-Barack Obama presidency, have we progressed? In some ways, yes. Progress is there. I cannot deny that. It's there. I would be lying if I would say it's not there. Legitimately, we've had one of the most brilliant presidents we've ever had for 8 years, right? And after 4 years, we will truly understand and appreciate what we had for the last 8. Okay? But this is where we are now. Obviously, we know what racism looks like as far as discrimination, prejudice, these act legislation. We know what that is. We have anti-discrimination ordinances in countless cities in America. Missoula is one of them, right? We understand what that looks like, right? But these are certain things that we don't. These are the remnants of the ugly history that we have. They're called microaggressions, right? And so what are they? So, subtle, offensive comment or action directed at a minority or other non-dominant group, right? It's often unintentional, often said in jest, right? Said by someone you believe to be friendly with you, someone who you think would be on your side, someone you would call an ally, someone, a friend, right? But they generalize and reinforce stereotypes that we currently have. So, definitions are pointless without examples, right? So, what are microaggressions? I'll give you one. You don't act black. Now, what does this mean? Because it's funny because this is always said to a person who is black by someone who isn't. And it's like, since you are the definitive source on this, tell me, please, what attributes am I not fulfilling in blackness? Right? You're pretty for a black girl. This hits home because, I'm a black man. My mother is a black woman from the islands, actually. I'm first generation American. My sisters are black. My cousins are black. My aunties are black. For some reason, we have this perspective that, when you're a person of color, especially on the color line, the darker you are, the less beautiful you become. I don't understand why that is. In all the literature I've read, we do have a problem, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, with the color line. That is our dilemma. In every country in the world, I'm learning about South America, for some reason, the darker you are, the more evil you're perceived. You're not allowed on TV, for instance, South America. The lighter you are, the lighter complexion you are, means you're more camera friendly for some reason, right? I've worked with women a majority of my life, white women. I grew up in Orange County, right? Orange County, California. The definition of white flight, okay? I had a friend of mine. She is from North Carolina. We had a relationship. She's unbelievably funny, intelligent, witty. We had a relationship. So we agreed that, what year? There were certain things that were going on. I think there had just been a racial incident or something, or we were during the recession. Something was going on to where we were talking about race in the office. Okay? To where she came and sat down and she's giving up some small talk, and then she's like, LaShawn, can I ask you a question? And I've spoken about race at length many times in my life. I know when someone wants to ask me a question when it's pertaining to race. Okay? This is the question. How come black guys can't keep it in their pants? The erotization, exotification, right? To which I replied, well, I don't think that's a problem with only black men. I just think that's a problem with men. Okay? I'm not sure. I got a lot of guys wearing black. They seem to have a problem with this as well, right? Can I touch your hair? Or just don't even ask. Just do it. Treating me as like I'm some sort of zoo exhibit for your pleasure. Right? Now, this is just a basic violation of boundaries. You just don't go up to a random person and just touch them. You respect their personal 3 to 5 foot boundary, and you observe that. You don't just go up to anybody because you believe you are entitled to their body for some reason and just touch them. That's not what we do. Okay? We ask for consent before we do certain things of that nature. Okay? So these are just a couple. I have a couple more. Haha. My partner is Native American. That means my son is tri-ethnic. I think I said that right. So my son is Native American. Even if he wasn't, I wouldn't need to identify with the Native American community, okay? I wouldn't need that familiarity to identify with the Native American community. I understand the history of this country. This statement is offensive because it seems as though, in America, for some reason, we've been told we're a meritocracy. We don't like anybody getting anything for free, right? We don't like that for some reason. Although there are certain instances where there's some individuals who get things for free. That's a different topic for a different day, right? But it goes against our code. We like work ethic. We like all these certain things. So when we see individuals that are supposedly getting things for free from the government, that rubs us the wrong way, especially when traditionally, if we don't understand our history, how race has been used to divide people. It is the tool that divides. There's nothing else that divides quite effectively as race does. Back to Bacon's Rebellion, 1868. Or I'm sorry, 1678. I'm sorry. Race was created. If you understand what that is, I'll just give you a short synopsis. There was a riot or a rebellion. It's called a rebellion, right? I actually did a paper on this. It's called a rebellion. You want to know why? Because the people that were involved in it were black, white, all over the place. Working class individuals, right? The state cannot call something a rebellion. Why? Because then it gives credence to the grievances of the people in the street. You can't call something a rebellion because then people are going to ask, what are they rebelling against? You have to call it a riot because a riot seems unjust. It seems spontaneous. It seems like they're complaining. Understand language, right? Bacon's Rebellion. Boston Tea Party is seen as a rebellion as well, right? But understand, because of that quote-unquote rebellion, race was created because the ruling class understood we can't have these working class individuals come together because they outnumber us. It's a numbers game. So we have to find something to divide them. This is where we are. That is, coincidentally, that's also when Native Americans were forbidden from coming to trading posts. Because you have marginalized groups coming together, what's going to happen? They start to talk. And they start to realize, oh, we're not the ones who are actually in charge creating all this oppression. It's those planners. It's the Washingtons, the Adamses, Those are the ones, right? So race was created to divide us. So these are all remnants of that. Are you a real Indian? I don't even know what that question means. What is a real Indian? Again, since you are the source of this, tell me the requirements of this real Indian, right? What's your Indian name? Right? Now, this next one is offensive, and I apologize, but this was told actually to my partner by an individual. It's dismissive of history. If you understand the westward expansion of the United States and the things that certain individuals did to destabilize communities, drugs was one of them. This is how you destabilize communities, especially if they have no history with it at all. There are more, right? This is a big one right now. Asking individuals to show you their license, their legal documents, like we're in Nazi Germany or something. Do you speak English? Because, they're supposed to be, right? You don't look American. Well, tell me tell me what an American looks like. Because from all the research that I've seen, that's changed. And by 2030 and by 2050, it's going to be very different, right? Do you? Right? So these are just examples. Are certain things that microaggressions, things said in jest, very pervasive things that we just have in our community. Here are the last two. And the greatest one. Yeah. How many of us are feeling great? Yeah. So, I got a great video to show you what I'm talking about as far as microaggressions. It's an awesome video, and it's short, so let's watch it. Uh-oh. No sound. Okay, no sound. That's all right. So basically what they're trying to get across is microaggressions are things that are annoying, right? They're described as mosquito bites. Something when you get it once, it's annoying, whatever, but you move on. But over the course of time, getting constantly bitten by mosquito bites, you're forced into a state where you're constantly uncomfortable, right? And we perceive these things as harmless because they're so pervasive in our community that, whatever.
It's no big deal.
They're just harmless things that, that are actually kind of true, right? So we just let them go. We don't have any introspection, and we don't step back and say, why are we saying these things? What do they mean? I'll give you an example. The university has a series called the Brown Bag Lunch Series. Does anybody know the remnants of that term? The history of that term? During Reconstruction, or actually, yes, during Reconstruction is when it was the most pervasive, but during Reconstruction and after, there were certain groups of individuals who wanted to separate themselves. So they would have brown bag lunches. Now, what is a brown bag lunch? They would take a brown bag, your normal brown bag that you have, and they would place it by the door. If your skin tone was not lighter than the bag, you could not enter. And the university has brown bag lunches. We have to understand the coded language that we use. I know we don't even check it sometimes, right? We don't even check it. I heard a term the other day, I call a spade a spade. That's a very racist term I come to find out on that Google search. Very racist term. But it's something that we just say, right? It means, oh, I tell it like it is, right? That term is very racist. It's basically saying, back in the day, I call a spade, I call a black person, i.e. the N-word. I tell it like it is. That's what that term comes out of, that phrase, right? So it's very pervasive in our community. But I've got an exercise for you. So the advisor to the Black Student Union is Murray Pierce. He works for the university as a special advisor to the athletic department, and he's our faculty advisor at the BSU. He also works in probation for the city of Missoula, right? So he's working on a piece entitled You Say We Hear. It's about all the rhetoric that is spewed and how it is coded to the people that it is directed towards, right? So I have a couple of examples. What about black on black crime? Deflecting from the real issue of homicide-related crime in general is not the solution. Okay? Yes, 90% of all homicides, of all black homicides are perpetrated by black perpetrators, right? Yes, but also 82% of all white homicides are perpetrated by white people. So what about white on white crime? Why are we not talking about that? Because if we're going on statistics, that's a high, 82% and 90, those are both high. Yeah. Why is it not perceived as though white people just have this innate sense of, criminality that it just makes them more cannibalistic and they turn on each other? But that's not something that we think about. That's not a phrase. We don't ever hear white on white crime. Minorities aren't real Americans because they don't respect the flag. It's easy to dismiss Kaepernick's protest as un-American. It removes responsibility from scrutinizing the underlying causality of the protest. Let's talk about why he's doing it. First of all, it's within his right to do it. That's number one. Then let's talk about why he's doing it. Hurt people, right? That's the way it is. Not even within that frame. Someone is protesting. Figure out why they're protesting. Again, isn't it coincidental that the state is demonizing this man because you can't give credence to what he is protesting? And I'll give you another example of how pervasive race is in our country. Colin Kaepernick right now is unemployed in the National Football League. He's unemployed because you have 35 white billionaires ages of 70 plus. I'm not saying that to say individuals who are older aren't cognizant of what's going on, but individuals who've been used to privilege and entitlement and have been in the ruling class for that long, they have a certain perspective on things, okay? They might not agree with Colin Kaepernick's protest, and that's within their right to not agree, right? But he still doesn't have a job. I find that coincidental because we say we love our rights. I'm completely in accordance with you exercising your right to protest, but I'm not going to hire you. But Joe Mixon, the young brother out of Oklahoma who punched a woman and broke 4 bones in her nose, he's currently getting interviews by NFL teams. So is it better to be a patriot or a domestic abuser? What are we telling each other? I agree with your right to protest, but I'm not going to hire you. I don't agree with you beating up a woman, but I can give you a job. Affirmative action, reverse racism, right? First of all, racism is a zero-sum game. My gains doesn't mean your losses. And if you take time to do the studies on affirmative action, you will find that statistics have shown us that the demographic of individuals who are most beneficial from affirmative action is who? Women. And we've seen it today because they are the majority of individuals on college campuses. At UM, 54% of our demographic are women. It's like that at actually most major universities. Equity, right? This is where we are. There's still a level of hesitation. We were just talking about third parties. Do you know the reason why third parties are starting to take a rise is because there's a lot of distrust going on between the two in the two-party system. The current events show that. For instance, we are the party that believes in climate change. How many Democrats were at Standing Rock? Defending water is life. How many? Some. But think about the message it would have been if the Democratic Party stood up and said, no, you're not going to do this. Think about the message it would have sent to our indigenous Americans. Finally, we step up to the plate and we're ready to go. I just showed you the images of Reconstruction. Do you understand that after Lincoln, there were a rash of Democratic presidents who promised African Americans and minority groups a bunch of things. A. Philip Randolph, who was called the father of the civil rights movement, met with Eisenhower, Roosevelt first actually, then Eisenhower. No, I'm sorry. Roosevelt, Eisenhower, Truman. That's the order, right? That's the order. Truman, Eisenhower, Roosevelt. Thank you for the correction. Truman, Roosevelt, Eisenhower. Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower. Thank you for correction. Democrats. Right? Eisenhower, not so much. But the reason I bring that up is because great promises to the African American community. Roosevelt, Theodore, right? The first one.
Franklin.
I'm talking about Franklin, but I'm bringing it back to Theodore for the first one. Theodore, after being saved by the Buffalo Soldiers, promised so many things to the African American community. By the way, back in the time when the Buffalo Soldiers were segregated, weren't allowed to be with normal soldiers, we know the history of the military, but still got into office, didn't follow through. Franklin Roosevelt, pushing the World War II effort, right? Fighting communism. We got to stop this. It's about democracy worldwide. Segregated military. German soldiers being treated better than our African American soldiers. Not being afforded the benefits and the pride of defending your nation. A. Philip Randolph used that. You're promoting democracy and freedom worldwide. We come home and ain't no democracy and freedom. Truman did not want to be perceived as a hypocrite. So he, under threat of marching on Washington, I know we think about Martin Luther King, but A. Philip Randolph was ready to have 20,000 people back in the 1940s. You got to understand the power that this man had. Roosevelt finally did something, signed the legislation. Didn't have any teeth, still did it. Next president was who? Truman. Same thing. Truman actually ran on a racial equality ticket. Do you know that? Still did not do anything. Eisenhower, ooh boy. Dragging and kicking. Did not did not want to reach out, felt that, this is an occurrence that will go away, right? What I bring that up is because we need integrity in our political process. When we elect officials, because what I'm seeing is we can have legislation, but without implementation, without follow through, without accountability, it's nothing. We need that. Right now, the Democratic Party, there's a little bit of internal divisions going on right now. Now you can see that as, results from the last election and we're fracturing ourselves, or we can use that as motivation to see the issues and heal those issues and then become even more united in 2018. Because it's coming fast and we need to move. So this is where we are. These are the rights that are in jeopardy right now. Like literally while we're sitting in here right now, executive orders being signed. Okay? We got to stand up for these communities. I read a quote on Twitter that said, have you ever thought, when you see the pictures of the civil rights movement and you see all that stuff and you thought, if I was back in that time, I would do something. Well, the quote said, well, you're in this time right now. There are things going on right now. Supposedly, we're not supposed to have a Department of Education in 2018. There are things going on right now. What you're doing right now is what you would have done back then. So if you ain't doing nothing now, you wouldn't have done nothing back then. Right? This is what's going on right now. We have individuals who literally can be discriminated against in the federal government. They couldn't before because we had a president who understood humanity, but now we don't. We're no longer fighting for our civil rights as guaranteed to us by the Constitution. We are fighting for you to recognize our humanity. We're not saying black people matter over everything. We're just saying that we should matter. That's it. This is where we are now. And I know there are a lot of young brothers and sisters who are looking for a way. They're actually activating themselves, grassroots organizing, trying to figure it all out. They don't know which way they're going to go, but they know they want to do something. This is our time to show them, hey, we haven't done all that we can, but now we're motivated. Let's do it. So, that's national stuff. Why does Missoula care about race? It seems that we've been in the news for bad things lately. Idyllic community, right? Last remnants of white countryside. Sometimes the underbelly of that tends to show its head. Right? You don't want to be on CNN for this. Right? Now, I will say the response was great. I actually know individuals from Empower, Montana. They're doing great things up at Poston, right? Educating individuals. I know the individuals that organized the rally in contrast to this guy right here. So there are great things going on. People are activating themselves, but it's still here. We move on. These are the pamphlets that were passed around Missoula. Propaganda, Nazi propaganda, right? I knew the individuals who were going around distributing the love letters in contrast to this, but still, this was being distributed in Missoula, in my district actually as well. This individual goes to Big Sky High School, substitute teacher. When referring to him and his friends, saying you're acting like a bunch of N-words. It seems to be happening way too often. This is us. So what is the solution? Now, obviously we can't see that because we don't have sound. So what is the solution? Because we need the solution. It's not all about looking about the bad. Now, we do need to reconcile it and recognize what we've done to each other, but we do need to heal. So what do we need? We need people to do what's right all the time and not talk about it, but actually be about it. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do. I don't care about what comes out of your mouth. Actually, I do care, but I care a lot more about how you behave, what you do. Okay? We need to be a little bit more compassionate of other individuals, especially the ones who are the unseen, the marginalized, the oppressed, those that don't have the abilities that we have. We need to be a little bit more compassionate to those individuals and those groups. We need to actually see ourselves in them as well. That's different from sympathy. Okay? I'll give you empathy an example. 25% of the individuals involved in the civil rights movement were white. Do you know that? We need people that understand what right is. What's right is right. It doesn't matter. Justice is justice. That's just the way it is. We need allies. Now, I don't mean putting a safety pin on your chest and saying, I've done my ally deed for the day. Right? That's not what I mean. What is an ally? Realize that and recognize that everyone has privilege in some way, shape, or form. Okay? Realize that you have it and use that privilege to empower others and make their lives better. And if not, then relinquish your privilege. That's what an ally is. I don't have to be affected by the issue that affects you, but I know it affects me because it affects you. So I'm going to stand with you so that we can stop this. I don't have to be you to know what's right and what's wrong. I said we were suspicious. For 8 years, we were in a honeymoon. I could literally turn on the TV and listen to my president talk and know that man is smarter than me. I can't anymore. I'm not going to discount his work ethic. I'm just going to play it plain, born, and simple. He outworked us. That's why he's there. Right? But I'm going to say it like Van Jones said it. This was a white lash. We didn't see the figures, but when it came out, we understood what it was. 62% of individuals who voted for this man are white. I thought we were in a progressive post-racial society. I thought we didn't have time for sexism. I thought we didn't have time for misogyny. I thought we understood that individuals' identities doesn't mean that we take away their rights. That's what I thought the America that I was in. I was wrong. A lot of us were wrong, and a lot of us, how can I explain this? In a relationship, you don't want to become indifferent because that means you don't care. People are starting to become that way because this is an example. This is the epitome of privilege. Do you understand that 8 years ago, if Barack Obama would have stepped on stage and said, I want the Democratic nomination with multiple divorces, kids from different women, bad business ventures, and no experience, he would have been laughed off the stage. Do you understand that? Even still having the academic background and the constitutional lawyer background and all of that, do you understand he would have been laughed off the stage? Do you understand what that means in America? We love excellence in everything that we do. We love expertise in everything that we do, which is why I don't understand this. If you have the means, you're going to have cardiac surgery, right? You got an option between a doctor who has a 97% success rate. They've had 10,000 plus surgeries. They're great, right? Or you got an option to someone who's opened up a successful string of Papa John's. They got a bachelor's degree in business from the University of Montana, but they've made themselves exorbitantly rich by doing this, and they believe they can make your heart great again. And they come into your pre-op room and tell you this. Who are you going to choose? But for some reason, when it comes to this arena, we don't value expertise for some reason. Maybe it's the remnants of the Tea Party, but this is the only avenue where we don't value expertise. Think about that. You would not go to a psychologist if all they took was Psychology 101 fall semester at the university. You wouldn't do that with your health. This confirmed a lot of fears for individuals. I know it confirmed a lot of fears in the older generation black folks who thought, oh, y'all thought all that progress was going. Y'all really don't know the extent. Y'all really don't know the extent of patriarchy and white supremacy, do you? There are a lot of young people who were in shock at this. I had numerous meetings with individuals, all at the BSU house, shocked with this because they could not believe it. They thought they grew up in an America where things were better. Do you understand that these individuals grew up with having a black president? So they thought we were in that post-racial America. They thought we had moved on. This brought them back to reality, unfortunately. I was asked to give the perspective of students of color in Missoula, so I have a couple of those responses. How has your race impacted your interactions in Missoula? My race always dictates how people interact with me. I'm in a constant mode of double consciousness, as W.E.B. Du Bois stated. How has your race impacted your interactions in Missoula? My race had made my interactions for me the most part hard and difficult. Spent most of my first couple years at home, hiding in my dorm. Eventually, I decided I'm not going to allow race to dictate my experience anymore. Do you have allies? If so, how do you know they're allies? The only allies that I have are my black, native, and minority group brothers and sisters. I know that I have a few white allies, but I don't know if they are real when they say they are an ally. I have allies at BSU. I know they're allies because everyone in this group listens and would show up to any event and stand with me. What would you like to tell non-allies, moderates, people indifferent? We do not live in a colorblind society. Race still dictates the opportunities available to a person. Black lives not only matter, but they also matter too. Recognize your privilege and use it to better the circumstances of those at the margins of society. The Democratic Party has a long history with the African American community. Trump stated this in the campaign trail. The Democratic Party has run nearly every inner city in the country for 50 years and run them into financial ruin. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Just give me a chance. Right. What have you got to lose? It worked. Yeah. It worked. There remains a perception in the black community that many in the Republican Democratic Party see themselves as practitioners of the old doctrines of, now this is Latin, parens patriae, in the narrowest sense of the term where the government's job is to parent or take care of the citizens because they can't take care of themselves. Paternalism, right? We're no longer in that mode. What we need now, we don't need things to be done for us. We need things to be done with us. And I'm saying the African American community, I'm saying the Native American community, I'm saying the LGBTIQ community, people with disabilities, everyone. We don't need individuals telling us what needs to happen. We need individuals to sit down, listen, and then when we elect them, to actually do their jobs. Have the integrity, have the accountability, have the follow through with your legislation. Right? This is the time we're in. we are a party that we were shocked as well because we, quite frankly, thought we had it in the bag as well. Okay? But we just showed that we have a lot of work to do. Missoula is a microcosm of the U.S. The majority of individuals in this nation still identify as white. That's shifting, but still identify as white. The white lash is the term when people say, I want to take my country back. I want to make America great again. I just showed you the you say, we hear. When you say, I want to make America great again, instantly that triggers, okay, you mean going back to what? The 50s? The 40s? We just talked about Reconstruction. We just talked about World War II. We just talked about all of that. Is that when America was great again? Because it was not great for a large majority of individuals. Let us know when that era was that you want to make America great again, because America is really great to me right now. I'll give you an example. We got a complete dumpster fire of a man as a president with no experience at all. America seems really damn great to me. If I can have no experience and ascend to the highest political office in the world, that is the marking of a great nation, is it not? Or a nation in crisis. That is why race matters in America, because it permeates every issue that we have. We're in here disseminating about the next congressional seat, Quist, right? These are issues he will have to deal with. I know we're all in agreement that that's the one we're behind, and I understand that, but understand these are the things he's going to have to deal with as well. We don't want Gianforte. Because at least we know Quist will listen, right? So everyone's watching. They're watching what we're doing. I'm glad that Roberta reached out to me at the beginning of the year, last year, and asked me to be a member of this community because, hey, like I said, what you're doing now is what you have done back then. So I want to get involved to be someone who actually said, yes, I tried to make things better. It's the biggest reason why I joined the Missoula Democrats, because you know what? You can't say nothing if you ain't doing nothing. So I thank you for the opportunity of talking tonight. I'm sorry that I haven't been at other meetings, but I'm a very, very busy college senior. So thank you so much. If there are any questions, comments, or anything, feel free. But thanks again. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Roberta. And thank you, Democrats. Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Who wants to go first? Just go ahead. Yep.
Who was the individual you mentioned that, I'm not familiar with his name, the civil rights leader?
Oh, A. Philip Randolph. A. Philip Randolph. He is the father of the civil rights movement. He's the one that put pressure on Truman and all these people to... the civil rights movement was the movement for jobs and freedom, right? So he was motivating individuals to stop being racist in the unions in America, stop being racist as far as, you know, hiring practices with African Americans, and in the military as well. So what the story goes, while they were talking about the civil rights movement, right, and formalizing it, they wanted A. Philip Randolph to be the leader. But A. Philip Randolph said, no, I'm an older generation. There was I forget his name, but there was an unbelievable community organizer who he wanted to be the leader. But this community organizer was gay. Now you understand at the time that was not good. And in the African American community too, we still have problems with that. So they said, oh, Philip Randolph, you're the leader. And he was like, okay, my first act is I'm appointing this person to be my chair, my co-chair. But he was the father of the civil rights movement. That's where he trained basically everyone. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, very influential to all of the civil rights leaders that we know. Medgar Evers, all of them. So,
I'm not really sure how to phrase this question.
Phrase it, just say it.
I'm just wondering how those of us who do have privilege can let those in need of allies know that they have allies out there for them if and when they need them, without smothering them and getting in their face and just, just being obnoxious about it. Just we're here for you if and when you need us.
Right.
How do we make ourselves available to those groups of people who need that extra voice?
Okay. Well, first, I would say just reach out to that group and tell them, hey, you know, obviously I'm not a member. I don't identify as a member of your group, but I know what's wrong. I have this issue that I think is unbelievably terrible, and I just want you to know I support you in your stance, and I'm here for you, whatever you need. If you need help community organizing, you need people to show up, whatever, to let me know, and I'll be there. And that's it. Follow through. And it goes both ways as well. Like, I can't sit up here and say, be an ally, and I'm not an ally myself, right? So people reach out to me and they say, hey, can you support me here? Can you speak on this? And I make myself available because that's what we do. That's what we need to do to each other. For instance, my privilege, I work at SARC, Student Advocacy Resource Center. We deal with prejudice, discrimination, sexual harassment, sexual assault, stalking, domestic violence, you name it. We deal with relationship issues. We deal with the issues that affect students in a very negative way, right? I had to educate myself on the privilege that I have with all those issues. I'm a 6-foot+ tall, athletic, cisgendered man. There's a lot of privilege in that. You have to identify that and know that, okay, I'm coming from an advantage. We can say, we have a problem with semantics in this country, so I'm gonna just call it what it is. Privilege is advantage. We don't like the term advantage because it denotes you didn't work for anything, right? So I have an advantage when it comes to certain things, and I recognize that and I realize that and I use that. When I give presentations about sexual assault, I know that the information will be received better because I'm a man up here. So I use that to influence behavior change, right? And that's what you can do. But what I always tell the white allies, you will be the ones in the corner when we're not there. You're at the Thanksgiving table when we're not there. You're at the Christmas table when we're not there. Too many drinks going around, we're not around. You're the one that's there. You don't have to be an ally when I'm around. Be an ally when I'm not around too.
Is there any one thing that is on your mind that we could do in the next election cycle, what would be, one, but give us something, if you have it, that you would see as a priority.
What I think we do, what happens to us is we prioritize a little bit too much. I'll give you an example. HB2, North Carolina, right? Everybody came out in full force. No. Bad idea. We don't need to be telling individuals you have to go to this bathroom because we understand the transgender rights. We understand individuals who are trans. We understand gender identity, right? Same situation. Now we have businesses pulling out of North Carolina, the NCAA, NASCAR. We have all these entities pulling out of North Carolina, and in America, we get money, we get economics, right? Same thing going on in North Carolina was what? Tightening the voting rights of African Americans. Increasing the restrictions on African Americans to vote in North Carolina, to Democrats, by the way. Now, why are we separating one issue from another? Because if you understand trans rights, you understand that trans people vote as well, and the majority of the individuals that are affected by this are people of color. There you go. A lot of the rights we have are intersectional. What I'm saying is we need to stop the so much prioritization. And we need to say all of these issues matter and all of them are a priority. Now, I understand like some things focus, right? That's different than prioritization. But what I'm saying is when we prioritize, that gives people avenues to divide. That's what happens.
I absolutely see where you're coming from, and I agree with you. But as my grandmother would say, you can only eat that elephant one bite at a time.
Especially if it's only one person eating the elephant. But there's a lot of us in here eating that elephant.
So how do you prioritize yet still not feel overwhelmed?
Well, one of the first things I think that we need to do, prioritize as a party, is we need to focus on 2018.
Well, no, hold on. May 25th.
May
May
20,
25th.
May 20, I'm sorry. May 25th, yes. May 25th and then 2018, right? Because we need to take a book out of the Republicans, a page out of the Republicans' playbook. One thing I do give them credit for is when they get in, they get it done. With all the objections we got, do you understand that we have a Supreme Court justice that was not confirmed?
Yeah.
Yes.
They get it done. However you want it to, whatever you want to call it, they gangster about it, like they say in the streets. They get it done. That's what we need to do, right? Now I get it. You can only bite that one bite at a time. Now I understand that. The first bite is May 25th. The next one is 2018. All of this talk is going to be futile unless we gain that power. That's what we need to do because then we can exert influence on our representatives and we can handle climate change. We can handle civil rights. We can handle trans rights. We can handle all of these we can handle infrastructure. We can handle immigration. We can handle all these things because we have the power to do so. But it's all going to be useless until we do that. We do need to get more active and take a little bit of page out of that Republican playbook. Because I tell you what, I was just watching the John Oliver report on gerrymandering, which I don't really understand completely yet. But wow.
Montana, we don't have to worry about that yet. Yeah, we don't have to worry about
I
that
understand,
yet.
and great, but wow.
Yes.
Like that is insane to me. Like I have to do more research. I was blown away. I was blown away. And that's a tactic that they've been using that we can use that we haven't been using.
We have to control the legislature.
Okay, I know. Do we agree with it or not?
No.
No.
If it was to our advantage, yeah, but no.
Okay. But these are the things that they do to get themselves into power. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
We don't have to always do those type of things, but we can take little tidbits and use those as well.
I was going to say, though, aren't some of those tactics unethical?
Yes. Yes.
So how do you justify that?
You can't look.
I'll give you an example. Sometimes, do you do unethical things to get to ethical means? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I've been told I'm a former athlete. All of my coaches told me when I got that scholarship offer, that's a means to an ends. The ends is the degree, the education, ending the cycle of poverty. The means is football. Now, I understand what you're saying. If to overcome the beast, you become the beast, then the beast is won. I get that. I get that. But we do need to get in there. Like, there comes a certain time where you get tired of Pyrrhic victories. And you got to just win so you can change things.
So with that slightly unsettling, that's pretty conniving.
Yeah, no, it is. I will agree. I will agree. Yes, it is.
Thanks again. We want to have this discussion with all of our kind of topics that we focus on here as a way to kind of give us a rich platform from which to begin to deal with these issues. So I think one of the things that we're trying to organize here is as a way to kind of build out this effort. Your platform tonight gives us a huge starting point. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. May 25th.